Okay, with the lighthouse light object selected, I can see that it has a capsule collider. Now this is not a physics-based object, so we can just right click and remove that component. It's purely visual. Okay, as long as we've got the mesh renderer and the material, we're fine. Okay, got a little bit of an error on the bottom there. It's nothing serious, so just click clear and they all disappear. So let's just see what this looks like actually in the game itself. Okay, so we can see that that's got a really nice glow, particularly when we're quite far away as well. So it's got quite a nice glow to that with the bloom effect. Okay, so now it's time to actually animate this object rotating. So to do that, I'm actually going to use the timeline animator. Any kind of static animation objects throughout the scene, it's easier to use the timeline than to go about creating animator controllers for almost every object. So I'm going to click Game Object and Create Empty. Okay, I'm just going to call this one Animation Holder, since this is going to hold all of our animations. Just click and drag that onto my assets. Now, it really doesn't matter where in the world that is based because it's a null object, there's nothing in it, it's just somewhere where we can place things onto it and keep them organized. So I'm going to click on Window, Sequencing and Timeline. Just click and drag the timeline down here, okay, so that we can see this. Let's just make this window a little bit bigger, and as long as we have the animation holder selected, we're going to click Create. Okay, scenes, let's go to, yeah, let's do it in scenes. Let's create a new folder and let's just call it timeline. Let's put it in here, and let's call this one Lighthouse. Just call it Lighthouse. Click Save. Okay, great. Now we don't need this one because it's currently trying to animate this animation holder, which is blank. So delete that, and let's click Add New Animation Track. Okay, and we're going to drag this lighthouse light object into there. We are going to create an animator on it so that it's able to animate. We're going to click Record. Alright, so we're currently recording. Make sure that you click on the lighthouse light object and just move it very slightly. That creates us a keyframe. Let's change over to seconds. Okay, this is in milliseconds by the look of it. I think it's roller. You know the roller ball in the middle of your mouse. You just click and drag that out to come out a bit. Okay, so that's 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, etc. So let's do this over 3 seconds. So let's just click right there on 3, and we're going to rotate this way. Now as I rotate and I look up here, I can see that the Z is moving. Okay, so it's going into the minus numbers as I drag around. So what I can do, let me just double check this. Oh, it's actually going down. Okay, so it started at minus and it's going down, right. So roughly 330, so let's just type in 360. Hopefully, let's see what we get when we do that. We should have hopefully a perfect rotation. Ooh, maybe not actually, because that starting point and that end point are totally different, aren't they? So the start point on there was 318, as I can see there on the Z. So the end point should also be 318. That way you create a loopable animation. Let me just zoom in on this a little bit to make sure that I'm on the right frame. So I'm just going to change this to 318. Okay, there we go. And now when I drag the slider along, we should get a perfect rotation. Okay, good. Alright, so let's just click play. So there it is rotating, and obviously it comes to a stop. So we right click and we choose Convert to Clip track. Okay, so now we've got a clip track on there. And let's click on this animation clip. And in fact, it's called recorded, so let's just change the name of it. Lighthouse rotation. Let's just call it that. Obviously, when we add more and more animation clips, we want to be able to tell what the clips are. So recorded is not very descriptive. Under post extrapolate, none, infinity, we want to change this to loop. Okay, and then it gives us this little icon. So what that tells us is that when the animation gets to an end, it will just continue to loop endlessly, which is exactly what we want. While we're clicked on the animation holder, we also have to ensure that the wrap mode is changed to loop as well. Okay, otherwise it will just play the animation once and do nothing more. Okay, so hopefully everything should work now. So I'm just going to click off it and click back on to make sure that it has updated. So let's just click play and see what happens. Okay, so there's a very slight pause there, isn't there, between one animation and the other. So let's just double click on Lighthouse rotation, and this takes us into the old animation system. Okay, I want to go to curves, and I just want to double check this. So I'm guessing that this is the reason why, because obviously I'll try and make this a little bit bigger so that you can see it. Under the curves for the actual rotation animation, we can see that the curve is not a straight line, but instead it's a little bit of a rotation. So what we want to do is click on this, right click, and choose flat. Same on this one, and choose flat. Now it's not sorted out the curve, so let me just try. Oh, it's already on free smooth. Let me try linear. Both tangents. There we go. Okay, now we're onto a complete linear on there. And let me do the same on the top one. Both tangents, linear. Okay, let's see what kind of an effect that has. So now when I press play, that's better. Now it's rotating without any pauses or any stops. Okay, and that's what I thought that was going to achieve, the blend curves. But apparently you have to go into the animation window and do it under the curves here in order to achieve that. Okay, great, so that's rotating nicely. We can now close this down. And if it's too fast or too slow, you have the speed multiplier. Feel free to change this if you need to. So let's say that we wanted to put it on 2, and that would actually speed it up. So if I now press play, as you can see, really, really fast. And obviously if you want to slow it down, maybe 0.5. And then obviously it goes much slower. And in fact, I might actually leave it at 0.5. I think that's a relatively good speed for the lights.